Welcome to the podcast that guides men to demystify and develop their intuition. I'm your host, Doug Bites. Let's dig into the science and expand your horizons.
All right, well, we're back for another podcast. And what I wanted to talk to you about this week is I never really thought it was a thing, but I've had about three people or three different synchronistic circumstances occur. And that's usually a sign for me I need to pay attention to this, of what intuition is not. And, you know, I've even had the question, how do I determine what's anxiety and what's intuition? And I was a little bit surprised, I've got to say, when I first heard that question. And then I had a little look online, I was doing a search online, and it's a thing that some people are questioning, how do I know the difference between my anxiety and what's intuition? And I guess I'd never experienced that, so it wasn't something that I was talking about or discussing, but I just thought this week that it's something I need to talk about. And because people say, well, you talk about the gut and trust your gut. And I've got this churning, awful feeling in my gut. Is that my intuition? And unfortunately, a lot of the time, that sort of thing probably is anxiety. So how do we recognize intuition? Well, I can only speak from my own experience and hearing others, talking to other people about it as well, but their experience is not personal for me. My intuition comes very subtly. It is never a booming voice. There are times when, if I'm not paying attention, intuition could come to me in a booming way. If I've already had many subtle experiences of it, where my intuition's trying to come through to me subtly, and the universe knows I've got the message, the universe knows I've heard it clearly, and because it's information I've asked for, and now I've chosen not to act on it, then it might come a little bit booming, but that's super obvious to me. But normally, my intuition is a still, small voice. If it's a voice at all, it's still and it's small, or it's subtle. Or I'm getting a synchronicity, like I mentioned earlier, where something will happen. There'll be a word or someone's action or a phrase or a song or something that pops up that's different. It's not a normal thing I would hear or words I would hear, and it occurs 2 or 3 times over a period of a day or two. Now, many years ago, when I start to think back in my early 20s, and I'm now almost 60, so a long time ago, these synchronicities would come maybe weeks apart. But life has sped up a lot on this planet. And we all know that. We all say, gee, how quick the years are going, how fast everything's happening. So for me now, these synchronicities, sometimes 2 in the one day, or a day or 2 apart, and they're subtle as well. And I've got to pick up on them. And look, I believe in guardian angels and guides and that sort of thing. And I believe these guides, they know us intimately. And they know how we respond and what we respond to and what will spark our attention. And I believe they very subtly will put things in our way. And why do they do it subtly? Why can't they just come out and boldly, you turn on Netflix and it doesn't go to Netflix straight away. It's just like a phrase or a sentence or a paragraph on the screen telling you what you should do tomorrow or next month. No, we have our own free will. We get to decide. So even when we do get these subtle messages, it doesn't mean we have to follow them. You have a choice. You are you. You are a unique human being in this incarnation, on this planet, at this time. And you get to choose what's going to happen. You get to choose how your life's going to go and flow. So as much as I'm encouraging you, particularly you men out there, to follow your intuition, follow your gut, because I believe, and the reason I'm encouraging you to do that is because I believe it will give you those wise choices following your intuition, will lead you on to a simpler, more enjoyable path where your frequency will increase and improve, and you are growing as a human being in this human experience on this earth. And for me, that's why we should do it. But you can choose, and I watch people every day, and even myself unknowingly, I'm choosing to just say, stick it, universe, I'm not doing that. This is what I want to do. And I'm going to continue in my way, and I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. And then, months, years later, I'm wondering why this has now happened, why that's happened that I'm not enjoying. Why am I now experiencing emotions that are on a daily basis unenjoyable? And that's what I'm trying to help you people who are following me and listening to me. I'm trying to help you avoid a life of disappointment where at every turn you are not enjoying what's going on. We are always going to have challenges, always, because they help us grow. If you've ever gone in your life, and I have done it several times through my life, signed up for a gym membership, and I usually go for a month or 2 or 3. Probably the best I ever went was about 6 months. And when you go, you realize the fatigue that you feel and the pain and the soreness in your muscles because of the resistance. And without that resistance, and it's breaking down little parts of that muscle so it then builds up more. I don't know the science of all that, but I think you understand what I'm meaning. So we go to the gym, or we start running or walking or swimming or whatever it is we decided to do for the next month or year or 5 years to improve our physical health. And it's not always enjoyable. After the fact, it's enjoyable. We enjoy it later. It's like for the last 6 months plus, I've been doing cold therapy and ice baths and things like that. It's not enjoyable while I'm doing it, but after I finish it, I enjoy it. So same as when we do these resistance exercises in the gym or running, swimming, it builds the muscle. And that's the same thing with our intuition. When we listen, when we do and it's hard to listen to those still small voices, those nudges, those thoughts, and we're thinking, wow, I've not had that thought before, or I've not gone down that path. Why am I thinking of doing that now? What's changed? What am I doing? It's not always easy to make these changes. Some of these changes are huge that we're being prompted to make. And the thing I find is sometimes if it's a little nudging to do something small, it's easier to make that decision. And there's a reward for it, but the reward's small. And I find when the universe is calling on us to make huge changes, like 30 plus years ago, my wife and I decided we were going to pack up and move our 3 young sons at the time over to a remote Pacific island. And it was huge. I had a good government job. I was a professional firefighter. And there was some synchronistic moments leading up to it, and we chose to run with it and go with it. The reward from that and the fulfilling life we've had from saying yes to that prompting, that synchronicity, has been phenomenal. Some of the happiest memories we have in our lives have come from making that decision, moving over to a foreign country. And I'm not suggesting anyone here needs to do something that drastic, but I'm just saying it was drastic. It was a very courageous thing to do. And it wasn't just something that, well, I know in hindsight, it wasn't just something I thought of. The idea was subtly given to me in multiple ways. And I followed it, and the rewards from that were phenomenal. Was it hard? It was incredibly hard. But here's the good thing about it. Like, could I go and do it now? I don't know. I'm a lot wiser. I was so naive. I was in my late 20s, and I was just so naive to realize how hard what I was about to undertake was going to be. But it was a burn in my heart. Like, fortunately, the universe, once I said yes to it, they put a burn inside me. The first night we came up with the idea, I couldn't sleep. I think it's the only night of my whole 59 and a half years, apart from when I was a little baby, I guess, new baby, that I never slept a wink. And I had to, the next day, I had to go back to where we'd come up with the second or third synchronicity the day before and go back and find the magazine that I was reading. And it just was a burn within me. And I was too naive to realize how difficult and how prolonged. I thought, you know, in 4 or 5 months we'd be moved overseas. It was nearly 2 years. It was, and that wasn't because I was mucking around doing nothing. There was a huge amount to do, and it just kept growing, and it was this massive project. That's why I say now at my age, I'd think, oh wow, I don't know that I would take that on, because I now have the blinkers off a bit more and I could see the huge amount of work that was involved. But we did it, and I am so happy and fulfilled in my life now that, because my fear back then, and I can tell you, I'm 59 and a half years old, and I had a work colleague come to me once I announced that I was leaving the fire service. I'd been there like 10 years, and he said to me, I had 3 children, he had 5, and he said to me, you know, like, oh, I admire you, Doug, that you're taking this step and moving and what you're doing. He said, but for me, it's too scary. I couldn't do that. I couldn't leave the security of this job. And I said to him, you know what, Bill, you know what's scarier than that for me? Why I have to do it is getting to 60, and here I am at 59 and a half, and saying 2 words, if only. If only I had tried, if only I had given it a go. And I am so thankful now that I did the hard yards. I bit the bullet, I burnt our bridges, and you know, talk about burn bridges. I gave my work a 1 month's notice that I was leaving. I'd been there 10 years, had a government job, and that month was up, and on the Friday, my last day at work, a shipping container arrived on our footpath and for us to start loading. And no, sorry, it was arriving on the Monday. I finished work on the Friday, and on the Monday morning, the shipping container was arriving. And my brother rang me just before that shipping container arrived. And so we had to ship the container from Brisbane in Australia to Guam. And then they were going to unload it off that ship, put it on another ship and send it out to the island where we were in Micronesia. We were putting all our worldly goods into that container to ship over there, building materials, a few things, all sorts of stuff. And my brother rings me just before the container arrived, and I thought he was joking. He said to me, oh, you listened to the radio this morning? I said, no. He said, they had an earthquake in Guam last night. And I'm like, I was sure he was joking, because that's where, you know, in 2 weeks' time, the ship was going to leave Australia and go and drop our shipping container in Guam. He said, oh no, it was a huge one. It was 8.1. And I started doing some research into it. It was the largest earthquake on the planet in the previous 10 years. It was 8.1. And what happened to Guam? I started making calls. The port of Guam, where all the container ships came in, was not destroyed, but it's seriously damaged. And it was shut for the next 3 months. And I'm like, I just burnt all my bridges. I resigned from my job. I got paid for a shipping container to arrive. We'd already had a yard sale, garage sale, sold a lot of things that we couldn't take. And we were in a rental property at that time because we'd sold our house and put all the money from the house into getting the business happening. And I'd let the real estate agent know that we were moving out in the next few days. And I was like, oh my goodness, talk about burn your bridges. But it didn't bother me. I mean, I didn't like it, but it didn't bother me because I had such a burn in my heart for doing that. Like those synchronicities and everything still felt good. I wasn't anxious. I didn't have, my gut wasn't churning like with anxiety at all. I still had this confidence that it was all happening. Of course, I had to get on the phone and ring we'd arranged, been going back and forth for the previous year with a builder from Australia, and he was sending 6 shipping containers on that same ship, that was the plan, to start construction of a hotel and restaurant scuba dive business that we were planning. And yeah, so all of a sudden everything was delayed a minimum of 3 months because of the damage to the port. We couldn't ship it in any other way because it was going to this remote place. And yeah, but my inner knowing had helped me move through all these stages, burn the bridge. Like, I've terminated my employment. I've terminated the lease on the property we'd been living in for the previous year. I'd organised and paid for a shipping container, had a yard sale, sold all our stuff, getting ready to go, and now this big delay. But I still had peace in here. My gut was okay. So I guess what I'll say to you, how do you know if it's intuition or anxiety? I would say anxiety is incredibly at a totally different spectrum. It's churning. It's, I don't feel good. I want to throw up. I want to go to bed and I don't want to face anybody. That is not intuition. I can tell you that. So if you have this still, small, comforting voice, if your gut feels good, then I would say that is your intuition leading you and guiding you. And yeah, that's to me, that's the difference. It's quite a large difference. And I apologize for my puppy dog barking in the background, but that's what she does. And yeah, so what intuition is not? It's not a churning in your gut. It's not an anxiety, an anxious feeling where, yeah, I'm feeling something in my gut. And is this what Doug says to follow? Definitely not. Definitely not. No. So yeah, that's where I think we're going to leave it for today. The still small voice is comforting and calming. It's not a churning and anxious feeling. It's, yes, it may not be comfortable to move into some of these bigger things that we're being led into, but you'll have a quiet comfort about it. There won't be a noisy anxiety churning in your gut. So we're going for the quiet, the calm, the still small voice, the nudging. The universe will not come and take your power away. It will not do things for you. It will not overwhelm you. It will be gentle with you. So that's a way for you to know if what you're sensing is your intuition and something to follow, or whether it's anxiety and you need to start to work on how to overcome anxiety. And if you are feeling anxious, start breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Will help you with emotional issues. If what's in your mind right now is negative self-talk, I'm not good enough, I'm an imposter, who am I to be doing this? Then try a different breathing method. Try inhaling through your mouth and out through your nose if you're having self-doubt about who you are and your ability to do what you're doing. If you have emotions that you're not enjoying, just the normal old way, in through the nose, deep and slow, deep down into your belly. Try and breathe in even below your belly button. Get it right in slowly. We're not doing these breaths fast. And then out through your mouth, slowly and fully. Half a dozen of those breaths, you wouldn't want to do more than half a dozen in a minute. Just slow it down, slow it right down. And when we do that, then we're getting a little bit more in tune where we can tap into and listen to our intuition. So we need to have, and breathing like that is calming. And when we calm, we raise our frequency. And I've talked to you about frequency before. And we're able to tap into this guidance easier. So I hope that helps clarify some things for you on what intuition is and what it isn't. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back again next week. Bye-bye.
Well, we're at the end of another thought-provoking episode. Remember to subscribe so you'll be alerted to new episodes. I want to say thank you to the men who are joining me on this journey of intuitive development. I truly hope our time together has expanded your reality and reinforced trust in your ever-reliable gut feeling. Embrace your intuition. It will not lead you astray. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and trust your gut.